You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagberdian and Paul Garrison. Welcome, listeners, back to the SDSU podcast. This is episode 131. I am your host, Andre Hagberdian. We'll be joined shortly by my co-host, Paul Garrison. On today's episode, we had a chance to catch up with Tiger Yu, who was a walk-on offensive lineman at San Diego State for the past couple of years. He actually began spring camp this year on the roster as well before having to medically retire from football due to an injury. As we get into the interview with him, he will talk about that in more detail. But Tiger is now still at San Diego State, and he's actually taken a role with the operations staff. And so he's still around the team, which is how, Paul and I recently at some team events where I saw him checking in and doing registration stuff for attendees and things like that. So he's still a part of the team in that sense. And it was cool to catch up with him and talk to him. We had never chatted with him before this interview. So let's get to the interview with Tiger, and then Paul and I back at the end for some of our takeaways. We want to welcome Tiger Yu to the SDSU podcast. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Well, man, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time for sure. You officially decided to retire from playing football. Can you just walk us through that decision, when that was, and what brought that out?
To explain this, we'll probably have to go a little back. So during the junior season of my high school, it was a COVID season, spring season. I dislocated my kneecap, which resulted in an MPFL tear and MCL tear. But that wasn't the main problem. The main problem is, the dislocation caused a lot of cartilage problems and, just slowly wear and tear until like most recently during spring ball, I was not able to perform out on the field where pain inhibition, where my quads would just involuntarily shut down when I'm doing drills, whether that's team, individual. My mind is not able to overcome that, and which just, it means I can't do my job anymore out there. And I do not want to get, anybody else hurt. That's my first thing. Like, I don't want to be out there and not be able to do my job and get, my quarterback hurt. That's something I won't be able to live with myself. And it's just, thinking about my future. I want to be able to run, chase around with my kids in the future. And a lot of that just all of a suddenly, became real and lets me making that decision.
So I actually dislocated my kneecap about 10 years ago playing basketball. It was a fracture and a dislocation. I looked down and my kneecap was on the right side of my leg. Like, I don't know how yours was.
Yep.
But I was super fortunate. I didn't tear my patellar tendon, no ACL, MCL. But the cartilage thing, like my knee, that arthritis, like I still feel it a lot of times when I work out or when it's cold or it's rainy, like that precipitation, that's definitely eroded my cartilage over the years. So I can only imagine with yours playing football on it after that. That's pretty brutal, man.
Yes, sir. It's definitely not an easy injury. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no,
it was definitely not like yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was definitely not like, easy injury to overcome. I think some people would rather tear some other ligaments other than the kneecap just because of the cartilage issue. And, it's right now I'm still searching for ways to reprimand it and maybe get more out of my knee if possible, but it's definitely not an easy injury.
Tiger, could you take us through a little bit of just like the process? Like when was the first time that you felt your muscles give out? And then like, did you go to get some doctors to look at it? Let's see what's figuring out what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, what was that process to actually getting to the point where you had that decision to make?
Well, then so with my knee, it was always like little the pain inhibition where my quad shut down. That's something that's started happening as I regressed into football. It's in my senior year of high school.
Mm.
So slowly, but it's like not often at all. It will be once every, few days, stuff like that. Maybe on like a bad plant on my right leg. It would give that little sort of a boost of pain where it will shut down my quads. But as I said, it was like a wear and tear basically, as I played more football, as I progressed through here, San Diego State. Some remedies we tried was a Monovis injection, which is like a lubricant injection into the knee to help out with the grinding, stuff like that. I take some oral anti-inflammatory medicine that our athletic department prescribed me with, and kind of just like the more, you know, less aggressive methods to stop this, help me manage through it. And, as I, for during winter conditioning of this year actually was when I felt something felt wrong about my right knee as I was running, I was able to like, fully push off of it. And every time I run, it felt like my right knee was a second behind of everything else.
Mm.
And that's when it kind of sort of developed. I went through rehab, got PRP injection, another Monovisc before spring ball. But it was just kind of like a steep drop where after the first week of spring ball, it was just so constant where like every other rep, my knee was giving out, stuff like that. And it was during that point where I wasn't sure if I want to get another surgery. So I kind of went through the process with Pat, our head athletic trainer, and then it was something that I brought up. I was something I was thinking about, and he kind of just gave me some options.
How challenging was the decision to medically retire?
It was horrible. That week I was possibly like there's some low points in my life, and that week was definitely like one of the tougher ones. Football was something I fell in love, once I moved here from China, and it was something that I was doing ever since high school started. Um, like letting go of something that you love is always hard. I feel like that's will be always what it is. But the transition with all of the coaches' support, with the athletic trainers, they really helped me in with this transition where they offer me positions to take on within the team, so I can be around the team, my family that I spent the last 2 years with, and they really helped me out a lot. A new coaching staff, but they treated me like family, so that's what's really like important and helped me out through this process.
Well, Tiger's kind of getting a little bit ahead of us. Andre and I have both seen him at different events, helping out, being part of the team. I'm not sure everyone understands or knows what you mean. But just because you had to retire from football, didn't mean you have to get away from the game. So what is it that you transitioned? You fill everyone in on what you're doing this year?
Yes, sir. So I'm currently majoring in general business at San Diego State. Um, ever since I medically retired from football, I've been thinking about my future, what I want to do in life, and football is definitely, still is a large role in that. I hopefully, want to work within a professional sports team, and to get that started, I asked Ruben, our head of operations, and we had a great talk about possibly me taking up an internship position with them and just learning about, the behind the scenes of football. Everybody sees, out on the field, players are playing, what plays they're running, scheme, stuff like that. But they never really go into on the behind the scenes and how important of a work that Ruben and the team has in making, everything functional, whether it's coaches, players, getting them to where they need to be, getting them fed, everything like that. And it's just like getting great experience. And continue to stack up my resume and stuff like that, preparing for the future.
Do you have a title?
Operations intern.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, football operations intern.
There it is. And then how long
Uh,
of a time did it take you? You talked about that week of having to make that decision. I mean,
mhm.
how long was it from making that decision to taking on the internship as the football operations guy?
Yeah. So the timing of when I medically retired was about right before our spring break. Um, so we have spring ball, some break. And during that break, I was just talking with my mom, my family, stuff like that about, this next stage of my life. And after spring break, I had the conversation before, but after spring break, I kind of got right into work with the coaches clinic and everything, with the spring game, the golf tournament, and everything. We just got in super fast. So I didn't really realize I had a downtime. I just felt like, just getting right back into it. And that's something I wanted to do just because I do not want to be doing nothing. I want to be productive. And this was a nice way of me getting back into rhythm.
Now you're still a full-time student, so this operations intern, what kind of time commitment is it, and why was it important for you to take on that role?
Yeah, so the time commitment isn't the hugest thing. I mean, during events, we'll be there for longer hours, but throughout the week, it's usually depends on my class schedule. Whenever I have some free time, I would go in there, see anything they need help with. I will like during spring practice, I was out there for practices, doing various things, whether it was talking to some recruits, maybe also just interacting with Aztec Link alumni, getting the players what they need, getting the coaches what they need, just be around there for help and support, and really just makes me be around the guys, which is the best part of the job.
Earlier, you mentioned playing football when you moved over from China. How old were you when you moved to the States?
I was 8 years old. I was still in third grade. Didn't know a lick of English. Moved here to a new
Wow.
country. Um, my first experience with football was actually just watching it on TV. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then
Mhm.
I was walking around a local shopping mall, and there was a recruit for Pop Warner football, and that was the first year I signed up. It was my fourth grade year. Well, back then I was still kind of a basketball guy, so I kind of bounced around, but I really took football like seriously and in high school, and that's what ultimately led me here.
Tell me a little bit about that interaction with your former teammates. I mean, obviously, when we've seen you, you're not by yourself. You're with a group of the equipment managers and the staff who's trying to set up. Did you just you former teammates? They treat you differently than maybe they do the other people that are around there?
No, they treat me still the same. They're always my brothers. I walk around in the hallways, say what's up to them. At first, I was helping out in the weight room too. Someone would call me Coach Tiger, which I thought was kind of funny. But just keeping that relationship with them, that brotherhood, everything. Like we just been through so much, and it's honestly just like another aspect of our relationship with each other.
Absolutely. And then is this internship like will you be traveling on the road still? I mean, where what are some of the things that you're anticipating for this upcoming year?
Just as this program grows, it's a lot more things are going to come, and I do not believe I will be able to travel with the team. But during home games, I'll be working it either on the field or just way more behind the scenes stuff. And that's kind of just my vision for this upcoming year. Stay throughout the team. I feel like we're building something that's very special, and I definitely want to be a part of it. One way or another, and just I feel like it's the anticipation is just everything right now. Like the high hopes for this program, and I totally believe in it.
Um, our most recent episode was with safeties coach CJ McGorris, and he was talking about
Mhm.
how his kind of role into coaching started as an equipment manager, and he just kind of worked his way up. Do you have any ambition of becoming a coach, football coach?
That was definitely one of the possibilities that I had in my mind, but I had actually had a great talk about this with Coach Schmidt, our current line coach. Something he went in about, which is, if you really want to be a coach, you have to be really committed because, just,
Yeah.
being on the team as a player, you see all the, long hours coaches put in. You see, they're away from their families for so long. And that is something that I don't know if I am ready to commit to. Just, everything is about football. It was kind of nice having a few days where, nothing, no team meetings, nothing like that. But it's definitely something that sometimes when I'm on the field during practice, I have the urge to tell like some people where they could do better. Maybe that's a hidden passion in me, but I don't think I'm ready to explore that yet.
You mentioned you're getting a business degree. When do you graduate, and any thoughts about, graduate assistant role with the Aztecs or somewhere else?
Uh, on my current course right now, with general business, I am eligible to graduate next spring, but I don't think I want to graduate early than expected. So I'm thinking of picking up a minor in finance, just to keep me in school longer. I want to graduate around the same time with my guys, stuff like that. So, the grad assistant role is definitely like, it's in my brain, it's in my mind. But I don't think I'll cross that road until the time comes.
Absolutely. Take us back a little bit. You mentioned having the knee injury in high school, um, and then having to work your way back from that. I mean, what is it about San Diego State, and why was it that you chose to become an Aztec in the first place?
Well, funny story. When I was in May, I came on as a preferred walk-on. So during later into the high school years, I wasn't sure if I wanted to still play football after my senior year because coming back from this injury with the lack of film from junior year, I didn't really have that many opportunities to expose myself to the coaches. But I was visiting schools. I got into San Diego State. I visited Northeastern in Boston right before coming to San Diego. It was May and I was freezing in Boston. And then I had the direct flight straight to San Diego State. And it was kind of just like, yeah, this is where I want to be. And, after I knew I was coming here, my love for the game, I told my coach, hey, coach, is there any way I could walk on here? I came in with some guys from Unipro Sarah, and we kind of got that connection. And I was blessed with a preferred walk-on opportunity here at San Diego State, and I'm forever grateful for that.
And obviously, next question, leading into it, Drew has a party, Hassan Mahassan, they're from Sarah, Ryan Silver, obviously Drew and Hassan are no longer with the program. Danny News coming in next year, or this upcoming summer. I mean, there seems to be a pipeline, with SDSU and Sarah and all of those kinds of things. Is that how you see it? And is the staff kind of maybe saying, hey, keep a good word in it for us with that group? Because I mean, you guys have been, I mean, that's a powerhouse program, winning NorCal. I mean, how many years when you guys were there? I mean, you guys were, modern day was a different story. They're a different animal for everybody. But you guys had some great time there, man.
Yeah, high school was definitely, some of the best times, I think anybody will ever have. And there's, a huge thing about brotherhood, humility, everything that Coach Walsh preached to us back in high school. And that, I feel like that's where, differs us from other high school programs where colleges come in, they see the culture, they see how guys work, and that's what's really attracting them. And, I like this pipeline thing going on, exposes more of our guys and, allows us, we have a great connection with the staff. And, Silver's been great working in spring ball. I'm excited for Danny to come in. And, we're just hard workers coming from Sarah. That's something that I can, testify to anybody.
You played some center on the offensive line. Every play has to start with the center, right? The center has the ball first. I've always been impressed with centers because, like, you have to snap the ball, make sure it's a great snap. You got to call out protections at times. You got to nose tackle right, bearing on you. You could have blitzers. How challenging is it to play center? And what is it like, to prepare for that?
The hardest part about playing center is definitely knowing the defense you're going up against. I feel like that's the hardest part. Make sure you always the center is the brain for the offensive line. He needs to know every call, every position. When his teammates get stuck, you ask the center. The center is supposed to know everything that's supposed to be going on, make the correct protection calls. So make sure everybody's on the same page. And I feel like that's the most important part of offensive line. We have to think as one. And preparing for it, definitely just a lot of film study. Watch for linebacker consistencies, patterns, stuff like that. Um, but playing against our old defense during camp, with Coach Maddox, the split double mug where they got two guys lined up on the center. And, that's you just have to be, intelligent and just be like an absolute dog to be playing center. And we think we got that with Braden Bryant. He's a worker, he's a competitor, and it's awesome to see what we got going on.
You mentioned you got a couple months in winter and early spring under Sean Lewis. What do you think he has brought to San Diego State that it may have been missing, and like the excitement that it's created? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the most important thing is just energy. Well, everything like he came in with energy. The first day he came to us, like walked in the team meeting room, you can just feel a different sense of aura around him. And I feel like, as the leader of the pack, head football coach, you have to have that aura. And then just, it's kind of a chain reaction. Once you have that set, the team follows. And, from just, during practice and just watching as an intern, watching practice, now there's so much energy going on. And I feel like it's just excitement that everybody's ready to play. And I feel like that is the most important part coming in, with Coach Lewis, all the new coaching staff that have an immense amount of energy that's just, ready to be released.
Can you give us maybe some names in addition to talk about Braden Bryant at center that maybe fans aren't as familiar with, but they you really like their approach in the O-line and as they're looking into the summer and into the fall?
Definitely. I really like our tackle, Nate Williams. He's what I would call like a technician. He is a sponge. He's always absorbing information, how to make his sets better, how to get to the hip, stuff like that. He's going to be a huge part coming in. And then some of the old guys, like returners. I really like Cam. His, shiftiness will work well in the space that we're going to give him. And then just I feel like there's so much to talk about where every guy on the team was going to contribute and they just all bring different aspects to the game. And, it's just a mixing pot of experience and talent that, really looking forward to seeing.
Absolutely, I think we all are. One last question for me. You've mentioned your guys, right? People that you want to graduate with, people that you came in with. Who are your guys? And then also, how much of a role did being able to be around your guys play in you deciding to become an intern?
Well, my guys, I just want to shout out to like the guys I came in with basically. Dean Abdullah, he moved in on the same day as me. He's been a brother since day one. I want to shout out Josh, Mikey, Max, those people, Lucky, Sheldon, just, grinding through those first 2 years of classes together, practice, everything, conditioning. We just built that bond. I felt like it's going to last us a lifetime, which is, mainly why I chose to, persistently want to be on around the team and, stay around like at this university as well. It's a beautiful place and there's nowhere else I want to be.
Incredible. Andre, anything else for you, brother?
No, I'm good. Tiger, thank you so much. It was cool to catch up with you. I look forward to seeing you out there on some of the practices and some of the events. And good luck to you as you finish school and forward to your next journey.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having me. Great time talking to you guys.
That's great. Thank you.
We're back here, Paul. That was Tiger Yu. We obviously we had heard about his medical retirement a few weeks ago. And then I think both of us ended up seeing him at events, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
He was running some of the registration for the golf tournament, the Aspect Link. You saw him at the coach's clinic. Cool story, really good guy. Unfortunate injury. I didn't know what his injury was, so when I hear the word dislocated kneecap, it takes me back to that moment, man. That look on obviously I couldn't see my face, but looking down and seeing your kneecap not where it's supposed to be is a moment I'll never forget. So hearing those words together definitely makes me look back on that or think about that. But what were your thoughts about what he's doing now and where he could potentially take it?
I think that Well, number one, I would say if he does decide that he wants to get into coaching, I think just from that interview, I think, it's a time commitment thing. That seems to be the what's in his way from making that decision. But he was very impressive, right? And you could very easily see him slipping into that role. But I also think just with the experience that we learned from this coaching staff, I think they'd be really comfortable with the idea that like maybe this first year you don't know, and that's what you're like trying to figure out and you're trying to see, because that's exactly what CJ McGorris told us, which was, this first year I was just doing it because somebody got me the job, my former coach in high school, but I didn't think that this was what I wanted to do. And then it was after doing it that he was like, man, this is great. And yeah, this is what he wanted to pursue. So I think that's my first thing, is just that you could really see him be able to fulfill that role. I'd say the second thing I thought that was really interesting is, the day that we're having this interview, recording this takeaway, is as the transfer portal is closing. And I think that there is this feeling with the number, especially of young players who are leaving the program, that maybe there's something amiss with the culture. Maybe there's something new that's taking place with Sean Lewis. And I think that as kind of an antidote to that, or also part of that conversation, is the fact that here's somebody who was part of the team, blew out his leg, had all these options of what to do to go back to it. But there is such an excitement around the program and with the people that he's close to, that he still wants to be a part of that. And so I also think that like sends a pretty strong message about, the culture that's still only 5 months old under Sean Lewis.
Yeah, I like how the two guys he mentions on the offensive line were the two new guys who look like they could be two new starters.
Yeah.
Brady Bryan and Nate Williams. I think both of those guys have come in and done a pretty good job through spring. As you mentioned, people are departing out and new people are coming in. Well, it seems like they might have found two guys that they could add to a group that maybe might include Miles and Ross and Christian Jones potentially at left tackle. But I liked what he said about those two guys. And then the Sarah Pipeline thing, I think there was, right, Hassan Mahasin left after last spring. He obviously told us that, hey, I was pretty much shown the door. I was told, they didn't pull my scholarship, but they basically told me I'm not wanted here. And we thought about, okay, well, what kind of impact will that have with his former high school and that, and then Drew transfers, although that was more for probably, moving up a level and NIL or whatever. But I think that, with Tiger here, Ryan Silver, you got Danny New coming. I think there's some offers out for some more Sarah guys for future high school classes. So I think that pipeline is still strong. And it's as you said, it's a powerhouse. It's not just known for Tom Brady from 25 years ago. They've got a lot of great players, and it'll continue, I believe, and I think Tiger's staying on and wanting to be part of it is a good sign of that.
Yeah, and I think that the other side of it is, I really think that he would have had a chance, especially with as you mentioned, Miles and Ross being out, to have really made an impact this year. I think he was kind of that guy who, as a walk-on, you weren't expecting anything out of him, but then you would just consistently see him repping with like the second team, and and you saw that under both staffs. And I think that it shouldn't be underestimated, the value that somebody like him brings to a culture that you're trying to build. It's interesting. Like, I think, we were talking about this before we got on with him, but, I saw him at the coaches clinic, and he's checking in people, and every other person who's checking in is like thin and small. And then there's this humongous human being who's doing the rest of it. And he just really stood out that way. But even in the little time that was around him for that, you could see that he was part of that team already too, and that he had already acclimated himself really well. And so I think that those characteristics, I think it's really smart that San Diego State is finding a niche for him. And I think that, they would be smart if it is something in a couple of years that he wants to do, to be able to set him up either somewhere else or with a grad transfer in-house. You never know what numbers are and opportunities and things like that are at that time. But I think this is the kind of person that you want in the profession, somebody who understands that it's about people, understands that at its core, even with all of the maybe the decisions that are forced upon you for various reasons, and just the end result, bottom line nature of what it is, and that if you can't do those bottom line things, you don't get to impact anybody. That you have people in there like Tiger Yu who understands what a brotherhood is like because of what he experienced. I thought that was really good. And then finally, for me, last little idea. I think what a great opportunity to work under Ruben. I think we have really appreciated the way he's always been great to us when we're out of practice or on the road or whatever. But also just coming on here and showing the same sort of values that Tiger just did. And so I think to learn underneath Ruben, I think is a really great opportunity. I imagine this year will be pretty educational for him.
Yeah, as Paul mentioned, we are through spring. We're in the heat of the transfer portal. Pretty soon, I think the summer semester will start, and those high schoolers that signed in December and February will come to campus, and we'll get a new crop of freshmen that'll join the fray. And then fall camp, I think Media Day, Mountain West Media Day, I believe, is July 11th and 12th in Vegas. So yeah, pretty soon after that, fall camp will start, and we'll have a lot more to talk about. So, there might be a little bit of a lull in terms of team news in June, but it'll be fall camp, and we'll have a lot more to talk about, and maybe a depth chart that we're struggling right now, not having a depth chart to overanalyze, for sure. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Tiger. We will be back soon with some more coaches interviews over the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that, and we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagverdian and Paul Garrison.